Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Think Your Way to an Epic Life. And today is going to be a lot of fun, especially for me. I hope you guys have fun too, but especially for me, because I've got a lady on who is a coach. She's a business and lifestyle coach. And it's very true to my heart to be able to find someone who has done what a lot of people call the work-life balance, but it's a much better twist to it. So Allison, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much. I am honored to be on here and really have this real conversation with you today.
Oh my goodness, here we go. Here we go. Okay, guys, get ready. Get ready. We're doing this. All right. So tell me, let's back up just a little bit. What caused you to get into coaching?
You know, my journey actually goes back, I think, like most coaches, from a very personal experience. And where I am today does look far different from where I started. I started in health and wellness. I started wanting to heal my own body when I struggled with hormonal health in my early 20s and being told, you know, the likelihood of having children was slim, or you would need to, you know, go a very medical route. And I just didn't accept that. So again, where I am today looks far different from where I started, but it was a very personal journey in studying nutrition, studying hormonal health, and then realizing after really doing a lot of work in healing myself that I just wanted to like scream that, you know, you can change. There's different things you can do outside of, you know, the perceived norm, which really led me into a journey of health and wellness coaching in the beginning.
Oh my goodness, that we are so more aligned than I even thought starting this. Yes. Okay, so when a doctor tells you this is the way it is, what is your response?
Yeah. And again, I wasn't in a season where I was even ready to have children. But like most of us, when we're told we can't do something, which is very interesting and triggering, it is a trigger. It is something that we're like, well, hold on. And children was always something from a very young age I knew I wanted. So being told I couldn't, or it would be difficult, was very triggering for me. And I didn't accept it right away. Like it was like, no, like, where do we get from being a very healthy person, a very healthy young woman, to not being able to have a family? So I took that right away into my own hands. I didn't like the idea that we would just wait and see. I didn't like the idea of medication when I really felt healthy. I felt that, you know, I was doing well. And I also didn't feel like I was asked the questions to be able to do things differently today to create a healthier body for myself if there was something off. So taking the internet wasn't really a big thing when this was a little while ago, late 90s. So, you know, going straight to the bookstore, straight to the library. And I was like, what is going on? What can I do to really get to the foundations of healing? And everything kept reverting back to, what are you eating? Yet that was a question that, you know, no disrespect to the medical field, but I wasn't asked that. I wasn't asked what I was eating, wasn't asked what I was drinking or how I was sleeping. So I started to uncover some things in that space, which again triggered more information, triggered more action, more information, and, you know, ended up pregnant. So it's like, oh,
Bonus.
it worked.
Wow. Okay. So I have no disrespect for the medical field either. And I also know that there's no human that cares more about Allison's body than Allison does. No one is going to do the research that you're going to do. And medical doctors get, if my understanding, I could be wrong on this, but I'm bold enough to say it on a podcast. They get like one class on nutrition. One.
That's exactly. Yes, that is exactly. Mm-hmm.
How many of you out there would put like the wrong fuel in your car?
Yes.
It would ruin your car.
It is. And that could literally be 5 other podcasts, because there'd be so much to talk about in that space. And it is. And I think, but what it really goes back to, and I think in all aspects of our life, where are we leaving, or where are we giving our power away? Where are we giving our power away? And I'm not suggesting there are experts. I would consider myself an expert in that field. I'm not working in that field right now. I consider myself an expert in really business and lifestyle coaching and creation. But again, I'm encouraging everybody, do the work. You know what you desire, what you need, and take control of the due diligence in the background. And that's what I did back then. I took control of the due diligence that I felt. It was a feeling. I'm like, I didn't accept it. So instead of just not accepting it and sitting in it, I didn't accept it. And I took steps towards what I felt would educate me on either being able to accept it, or in this case, it gave me the power to make change.
Wow. Okay, this is very exciting. So yes, I think we might have to have you back again. I already feel that, and we're like 3 minutes into this, so we will, and we're definitely going to get into all of that. So you started off as more of a health coach, and how did that business take off? How did you start it? For someone who's sitting out there thinking, I could be a coach in this, whatever this is. How did you get going?
Yeah, it really was a passion for me. So I was working at the same time in corporate field. I was getting my personal education. Again, this was a very purpose-driven mission that I had. And the abundance of information I was receiving, it was like light bulbs were just coming on, because I'd really never heard some of the things that was clearly available to us. That was the key. It's like the information is there. And it wasn't one book on the shelf. There was like 30, 100 books on the shelf. So how was it that I didn't have any of this information? And that's what really, again, kept me going and really looking to study. And then it took me to, okay, if there's this much information on the bookshelf, how much information is available in a course or educating myself? So that's, again, where it led, because when you are in a silo of one direction, then you don't necessarily see what's on the other side. I was in a very corporate structure, corporate mindset, although I always had a very freedom way of thinking. So I didn't realize what was available to me. So studying and really looking, and then again, taking that to a career, it started one person at a time. It started with healing myself, and then realizing, and because now I'm open to hearing other women who were really struggling with very similar situations as I was. And even if it wasn't directly related to having children, there were things within their health that there was a lack of, right? Where they were being told of a certain outcome and one direction and healing it, which then I was hearing and saying, hey, have you looked at what you're eating? Have you paid attention to how you're sleeping? Have you paid attention to what you're putting in your body? And, striking up these conversations to bring curiosity, which led to one more person, my first client, right? And at that time, that first client is, I'm just going to work with you for free. I am going to help you. And, because that's where you're at in this journey. And she did powerfully heal. And again, it's like lights as fire. And you're like, oh my gosh, yeah, am I onto something here? And it just really manifested. It manifested off the side of my desk, in the sense of, it was in my job, and then, one client, and then became another client. And again, this is in a period where social media wasn't a big outreach, but word of mouth certainly was.
And still is.
It still is. And I think we miss how many people just who live on our street who can, receive value from what we do. We're trying to reach so far, but there's our neighbor, in many ways could benefit from a conversation with us or working with us. So it was just that. It was a word of mouth. And you know what? When somebody is feeling good, when somebody is thriving, when someone has had change, they talk.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. So it sounds kind of like acres of diamonds. It's right here in your backyard and you're looking elsewhere.
Yes. That's just it. And, just again, having these conversations and being open, not to receive, but to give.
Yes.
Because when you give, you just naturally receive. So I was so open to give and just share what I have learned and share, my journey, and now the journey of multiple clients I had an opportunity to work with. So I think going back to the question you asked, like if you haven't started, where do you start? The coaching industry overall, or consulting industry overall, is so driven by personal experience. You don't need to be an expert in the educational part. You need to be an expert in your own story.
That is great advice. It really is. Ed Milet, who's one of my heroes, says the person you can help is the person you used to be.
Yes, that's it. And don't devalue that. It's so powerful. And it's a catalyst to what can come and what you can create. There's so much more value in somebody who's experienced something and relevance to you than there is somebody who has read a book or has gotten an education.
Absolutely. Okay, so just as a side note to all of you guys, if you would like me to have Allison back on and just really focus on being able to have babies naturally without, then let me know. Put some comments in there, and we will definitely see if we can't talk her into that. However, right now we're talking about your business. So how did you go from there to business coaching, business and lifestyle?
It is. And I love these questions and I love this conversation because our journeys all lead to the next, right? Mm-hmm. And in the health and wellness space, I was by industry standards, very successful. And I say by industry standards very specifically, because industry standards meant I sold my time for money, meaning I had back to back to back clients. Okay. So by an industry standard, I was very successful, which felt so controversial to me. It felt so controversial because I wasn't then experiencing what I pictured in growing this business. The clients were successful. That was amazing. Back-to-back wait list, amazing. But my children that I now have, so at this point I have 3 boys. And my children at this point, which was the reason I started in the industry overall, had none of my time.
Right. That is so common.
Right. I had no time for them. And instead of using them as the reason I needed to change, I was using them as the excuse why I couldn't. They need things. They need to play hockey. They need to eat. Oh my gosh, they're growing. All of these things. And I shamefully say, subconsciously, I blamed them. Like, I need to work this hard for you. And I didn't blame them in a negative way, but they were my excuse to book 10, 12 clients in a day. And so when I look at that, there was an actual moment for me where I say I burned down my business. And anyone who's listening, I didn't really, very metaphorically speaking, but there was a moment when I realized, again, this isn't working for me. How can I still serve my clients? And in fact, let's be honest, the 5th client of the day wasn't getting the best version of me. There's just no way. There's no way. But how do I create something or recreate something where I'm still serving, but I'm also serving me? And in serving me, that meant my children, meant my relationships. There were so many things, again, happening there. So I did burn down my business on one weekend. On one weekend, I decided this is enough. And I will back up a little bit. The Friday before, it was my son's Christmas concert. And I sent my husband with the camera. And I said, oh my gosh, I didn't realize it was today. I booked a client meeting and I can't cancel it. Of course I couldn't cancel it. But I said I could, and I really believed I couldn't cancel it. I'm like, no, I cannot. So I sent my husband with the camera. My son, of course, like, what? You're not coming? And the client didn't show up.
Oh, that would do it. Thank you for being so vulnerable. Thank you for sharing that. Really, guys, we all most of the people that watch this or listen to this are entrepreneurs, and we all do that. We all tell ourselves those same lies. Okay, so what happened in your mind and in your heart when they didn't show up?
Yeah. And it's still something that brings like that layer of tear, right? Because there's shame involved in that. But also I really look at it is that had to happen for me. It had to happen for me because I I don't know if I can't, predict, but I don't know if I would have made the change without something like that that's so triggering for me in that moment to happen when I was receiving pictures and I was missing that and somebody else put something else more important, right? So my husband came home again. I was devastated in the fact that they didn't show up, that my son had this experience that I wasn't a part of. And I just said to him, I said, we need to make changes, because he was also in personal training, 12-hour days also. So we need to make changes. This is not what we pictured. Our relationship is going to suffer. I would say probably was suffering, but we were lucky enough that we were okay. Our children we were tag teaming them as a response, like as a have to, like, okay, you've got that one there, I've got this one here, okay, high five you in the middle. But it just wasn't what we pictured for our life. And I laughed to him and I said, we are the definition of unhealthy in the health industry. Like, we weren't living healthy, yet we are speaking health every day. Like, it was a self-check moment. So again, that was on a Friday. That weekend, I really broke it down to build it back up, and not in the way that I think a lot of businesses do. I broke it down in, what do I want to be experiencing? What do we want to be experiencing in our health, in our wealth, and in our relationship? Because at the end of the day, if your health is impacted, then your wealth, your finances is impacted. If your relationships are impacted, your health is impacted, right? Like, these three are so important, but we're not really paying attention to what success looks like in each and how to actually balance each. So we broke it down. What do we want to be experiencing? Well, I knew that I liked to do my exercise around 9 to 10 a.m. That was like my ultimate, where I felt the best. Okay, so you can't book people at that time because that is that important to you. We had financial responsibilities, as all of us do. We broke those down. Okay, what does it look like to not just get by, but to actually, like, what are we generating? Where would that space be where we can say yes to the things, and it doesn't necessarily need to be in like this crazy numbers, but numbers that we really feel abundant. And then again, in relationship, how do I want to interact with my children, with my best friend, with my husband? So we broke that down, and then we built that back up. Okay, how do we structure ourselves then so that it's in alignment to this, instead of, again, this downwards up model? And we decided to build one program around a result, healing, right? So in this case, it was in the health and wellness. One program that created a result. A result doesn't need me seeing you every Tuesday at 10 a.m. A result needs to be created for you, and then requires me to support you, right? And make sure that happens. So we did that. We built this, like, how do I help people? How do I truly help people? And when my ego is involved, I'm like, oh gosh, they need to see me Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. That was my ego. When I actually looked at it, that had no part of it. So we built this results-based program, and that's what I reference it as, is a results-based program that doesn't have time attached to it. Time is involved in it, but it's not structured how it used to be. And we went to the market, just speaking about results, speaking about pains people were experiencing and what they want to be experiencing. And that Monday, before 10 a.m., we had gotten on a couple of calls, and we had invited people into this new way of working. And we actually made more by 10 a.m. than we typically did in a month, generating, 12-hour days.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And it wasn't about the money, though. And that's what I do want to say here. Like, I would have thought you had to do it this way to make money, right? And that's why I bring that up. This is the only way to do it. But then I recognize, I'm like, oh my gosh, hold on. Now we're working with people and a much more personal level than even when we were in these scheduled sessions. We're completely focused on getting a result, and we're structuring everything to support someone. And people's hands were up. There's like, yes, please, because their time is also valuable. They don't want to see you every week 3 times. They want a result. So to be able to structure that, and again, it evolved from there, but all of a sudden we're like, okay, now let's like work this model. I look at things like climbing a mountain and there's base camp, right? So we got to like this new base camp 1, it's like, okay, now let's make sure that this model's working. Let's make sure that we are serving our clients and getting results. And what was really amazing was the results were even so much more significant, right? And the results were quicker, which then we're like, oh, right? The money side of it, it's, oh my gosh, if it's quicker, we're going to have to go through more, like shamefully, you still look at that, right? Shamefully not. I mean,
you're in business. Yes.
But what is amazing is when people experience a certain success and you're also still growing, you have an opportunity to work with them in other capacities as well.
Absolutely.
When people feel better and they're, empowered and they really connected to how you support them, there's this endless opportunity as you're still growing. Like I think you referenced a few minutes ago, where you are the best leader when you've experienced something yourself. So our relationships were able to expand past what we could see in that first stage of working together. So now I've got a business model that allowed me to work from anywhere, right? So I could take my kids on vacation and I could still work. I could, I never had to say no to a sporting event or a Christmas concert ever again. And my husband and I just had so much more fluidity in how we worked together, which was also really amazing. So that was a very long story to get me to where I do this now. And again, the same where it started in the beginning. Now I hear coaches and experts, talking about, oh my gosh, I'm back-to-back clients. Oh, I had so many cancellations, or cancellations cost me, or over the Christmas season, there's, very little income. And I'm like, no, it can be different.
Oh my gosh.
So my passion just again derivated then from wanting to, how do you reach more people in the health space, for example? I reach more coaches. So it really shifted for me in recognizing, again, there is another way of working. There is another way of building a business that is as powerful or more powerful. I will say more powerful in working with your clients while still providing the lifestyle that you really desired for you and your family.
Okay, so let's go back to the lifestyle for anyone who's watching this and is in that grind that you and I have both been in, and maybe some of us might still be in a little bit. So, what do they do? What's their first step? Like they realize, hey, I wasn't there for my husband, I wasn't there for my kids, I wasn't there for whatever, and I'm done doing that. What's their first step?
Yeah, I mean, I call it an audit, right? And I call it a business and lifestyle audit. And by audit, I mean, I'm not in the technical term in the sense of a financial audit, but a complete audit, health, wealth, relationships. Don't look at what you are experiencing right now. What do you want to be experiencing? Break that down. Because what we want to be experiencing and what we are more often than not, especially if you're hearing this and it's triggering you, there's a disconnect there. So look at, what do you want to be experiencing? Break that down. Then what would it take to be achieving that, right? So we want to look at wealth, absolutely. But we want to look at, again, health. Health is the platform. If you don't have a healthy body, a healthy mind, healthy spiritual connections, what are all of that for you? There's always a disconnect there. And then again, relationships, human beings require them. Like, we thrive in relationship. right? So if we aren't structured to be supportive in that space, so I encourage you to break those down, then build that up. And the fact is, there's people who have gone before you. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. That's the thing. Like, we created this, but again, then we leaned into coaching and mentorship. We're like, we have to do this. We have to make sure that we are honoring what we require here for our life. And that is such a powerful thing that I think a lot of people in this space, like, well, I know it. Yes, but you're also in the space, and how can you expect others to step up if you don't?
Yeah.
So I think, again, it's breaking it down for yourself and recognizing there's people who have gone before you. There's people who have, worked within certain realms, who have had certain successes and experiences. Lean into them. It will never cost you more than it will cost you to not.
Woo! Can you say that again?
It will never cost you more than it will cost you to not.
That is something that people Benjamin Franklin said, empty the coins of your purse into your mind. And guys, I'm telling you, whatever you learn, no one can take away from you. That is your ticket, is to learn. And so oh my gosh, this is exciting, Allison. Okay. So what do you see, books, podcasts, what recommendations do you have for people? Obviously, we're going to put your information, and folks, if you want to hook up with Allison, you can just click a button. We're making it super easy. Don't be scared, push the button. However, in the meantime, like, what books, podcasts, anything like that do you recommend?
Yeah. And, I challenge a little bit to answer that question. The only reason why is because everybody right now listening is coming from a very unique space. And now we're pushing somebody to a spot that might not be quite aligned. I really want to encourage people to audit their business. I mean, listen to this podcast. Absolutely. Because again, I was connected here. You are connected here. So there's a reason for that. But really, before taking the next steps, because there's so much information at our fingertips, that's dangerous. Okay. There's so much information at our fingertips, more than there's ever been in the history of mankind. Yet we're more confused than we've ever been in the history of mankind. And that's because we're not asking the questions first of what what do you want to be experiencing? Not what are they experiencing and I'm going to go try get that.
I love that.
First, we need to ask that question. And I want to encourage you, the first step is do the business audit, right? Or the lifestyle audit. Do both of those. Look at what you want to be experiencing. And when you can start then looking at what you want to be experiencing, I bet everything that the right podcast and the right book is now going to be in your lap.
I love that. So you have 5 children. From 17 to 26, and those are very, very formidable years. How much does what you and your husband do impact them, and in what ways?
Yeah, I love that question so much. I mean, I would say completely, 100% it impacts them, and today in such a positive way. And I'm grateful every day for the changes that we made. And what is so amazing in these ages that they're in is that we don't ever tell them what to do, but they are following what we are doing. And we've got, I think 3 of them continually work out every day. Like, that's just it's an important part of their structure, right? They exercise every day. We've got the oldest 3, who are in very entrepreneurial fields and creating these opportunities for themselves and looking at how to build a lifestyle. I've always said to them, life is going to happen, but what do you want your lifestyle to look like? Is travel important to you? And all of these things can change as we grow and expand. Travel important to you? Is, having a family and being able to raise a family down the road important to you?
Okay, Grandma. Stop.
Right there. Where you live, how you serve. Again, we encourage them to ask those questions, because There's professions that are amazing. Lawyers, doctors, I'll use those as an example. There were ones when I grew up, if you were a lawyer or a doctor, you were all that and then some. No disrespect, again, to the industry, but how they work, I don't want to work that way. I don't want to work that way. And if one of my children does, that's amazing. But I'm just saying, ask those questions
before you go down that road.
Before you go down that road, because if it's misaligned with what you are really picturing for your life, like, talk to people who work within those spaces. And I think that's so important, because again, when I grew up, I didn't come from an entrepreneurial family. I came from you work for somebody, you get up, you put in your hours, you get your pension plans and your retirement savings. You follow this very structured, like worldly structured way of living. It never felt connected to me. It always felt very disconnected. I always felt like, I was battling up against something that, I couldn't understand. And my parents always wanted well for me, but every decision I made to go my own path, like, stressed them to the max, because they're like, no, you just go work for somebody, be so grateful for your job. And that's great for some people. When you do this lifestyle and business audit, if that's what lights you up, awesome. That's amazing. You were in the right space. But if it doesn't, don't settle. If it doesn't, at any given moment in your life, you can change that. It's just a decision followed by some action.
It totally is. I love your passion. It brings up the thought that what happens to most people, to a lot of people, is they don't ask themselves the questions. They don't get advice from people who know them, love them, and that they trust. And they climb this ladder, and they climb and they climb and they climb, and they almost die climbing the ladder, and they get all the way to the top, and they realize they're on the wrong ladder.
Yes, I know. And it's so, like, it's sad.
Mm-hmm.
It's sad. But it's okay. And I want to leave this, like, if you've done that, that's okay. I did it. It's okay.
Right.
It's okay to have done that, and it's okay to change. It's okay to change your mind. It's okay to change your vision. It's okay to change what you always said you maybe wanted. It's okay, because it shows you've grown, right? You can't see another ladder unless you've climbed one sometimes.
There you go. Kind of like, you said the name of my coaching is Base Coaching Group, the one I work with. And there they talk about Mount Everest. If you get to the bottom of it, can you see the top? You can't see the top. So you've just got to go to the first base camp and then reassess, and then go to the next and then reassess. And so that is what you are offering people the opportunity to do. And I hope you guys listen. I hope you listen really passionately to this, because you don't have to keep doing what you've been doing, and you don't have to do what everyone else says is the best thing for you.
Thank you for saying that.
Go. Yes.
Because that's just it. Like, that's maybe the best for somebody else, so they can only speak their truth, but it doesn't mean it's your truth. And that's so important. Ask yourselves the questions, because we all have feelings. Some people call it intuition. Some people call it gut. Some people call it discernment. Whatever it is for you, you have that. Honor it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Allison, Allie, oh my gosh, I love you. This has been awesome. I really appreciate your sharing your knowledge with our folks. And guys, please just click below if you would like to connect up with her. Any last words of wisdom before I let you go?
I will just say, thank you so much for having me. I have a program, and it's called the WELLthy Entrepreneur, but I spell it well, WELL, all in capitals. And it's creating, that health, wealth, and relationship, and you can have that. I would love to connect with you. I mean, again, follow those intuitive things, take those steps. Everything is possible for you.
Okay, so where can they find that? Or can you send me the link to that so we can?
I'm going to send you the link. We can put it there, yes, but Health Academy Inc., but the WELLthy Entrepreneur. I am out there. Search my name. We will connect if we are meant to connect. There's no doubt about that.
Okay, outstanding. Thank you so much, Allie.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your time and the conversation.